So one thing that's kind of been on my mind a lot, especially like over the years, is how much I just really hate the corporate world of, especially in America. And I see this all the time from people on Twitter, or just like people in real life, is that everything just seems so like fake when it comes to, you're at a job and people there just act like someone they're not, especially the people like the higher ups. It's just so crazy to think about because they try to like get you to be just somebody that really doesn't think for themselves, and if you do think for yourself then you're kind of a target. And it's so crazy to think because these jobs that they don't encourage you to really be yourself. And and I just hate it so much because, my last other videos, I mentioned about how I was working at this job. I was working at Medline. It's pretty much just a place that just does medical equipment and whatnot. And I was working around like 50-hour weeks. And, the schedule was 1 p.m. to 12 a.m. And they pretty much fired me because if you accumulate over like three mistakes in a span of 1 month, that's one write up. And even if it's not consecutive, I end up getting 3 months worth of mistakes. So let's say like 1 month in January, I got 3 or 4 mistakes, and another month I didn't, and then the other month I did. So even if it's not consecutive, it still matters. It still counts against you. And after like one, even if you get like one mistake, they have you like go up to the front or whatever to pretty much sign a paper like saying whatever about, oh, I understand this and that, because I was pretty much just a picker for orders and stuff. So like for the most part it will just be just one-offs or maybe like one extra or whatever it may be. And sometimes some items like they fall out and in pallets or whatever it may be. But it's just so crazy to think about because I was working so many hours at this job just for them to fire me after like I saved up so much money. I was never late. I barely called off. I barely used up any sick hours, and still that still wasn't enough for them. And another reason why I'm kind of bringing this up too is because I saw this thing. I saw this thing on Twitter. I'm gonna pull it up right here real quick. I'm gonna pull up my browser just to show you guys what I saw. And pretty much it says a new study finds a minimum wage worker in 1971 had purchasing power equivalent to someone earning 100K a year today. Since then, soaring housing, healthcare, and educational costs have dramatically outpaced both inflation and wage growth. The study argues the debate about Gen Z's work ethic. It's that the economic ladder that built the American middle class has become dramatically steeper. And that's just so crazy to think about because it's like, you know, um, back in the day, especially like, before, it's crazy because 100K was like the golden number when it comes to living a very comfortable life. You might have two nice cars, a nice house in the suburbs, two vacations, might have a few kids, and you still could be just chilling, to be honest. Like you still could do the things you wanted to, buy the things you wanted to, and people didn't complain because at the end of the day, people don't really. I know like I know most people don't mind working. I know I don't mind working at all, but the thing is that once you kind of take away the reward of working hard and just being an honest person in today's day and age in general, it's like you get the shit end of the stick all the time. For example, my dad, I think he got fired back in 2019. He was working at a warehouse for about 15 years as a maintenance lead, and he pretty much got fired because of just some agreement that the company backed out on or kind of lied about, and they pretty much just let him go. And it's so crazy to think about because after he got fired, he went to school for real estate, and obviously he's doing better now. But I've always been the type of person to just say, nah, I don't I don't really want to like go to college and stuff like that. And I actually did go to college surprisingly. I went to a community college for about 3 months, and I quickly kind of realized that school wasn't really for me. And at the end of the day, I wasn't really having the classes that I really needed to really like get to where I want to be. Like I don't get why I was learning let's say like another algebra class, or I don't fucking know, some math bullshit class, and and other classes that aren't really related to business, which I was going to school for business because I have a clothing brand and stuff, and I just thought at the time like, oh, like I want to go to school for business so I can have a successful business, obviously, and see where it gets me. But anyways, that's kind of besides the point. Um, you know, and ever since my dad got fired, like I feel like it made me really be stamped on not being loyal to a job that is actively like that actively doesn't give a fuck about you, and they show it so much and it's because like it's just so crazy to think about because when you go to like a new job, they try to make it seem so happy and jolly, and the benefits and this and that, but then when you go in there, it's like you're just around like shitty people. You got shitty pay, shitty management that don't give a fuck about you, and it just you're just pretty much like just not really you're not really being respected as a human being. It's like they just look at us like we're just some fucking like meat suit that's just gonna die, and like if I drop dead, or anybody else, whatever, maybe like they're gonna get replaced anytime like that, whenever it is that someone doesn't really like exceed their needs. And it's just crazy to think about because why is it that people are working harder than ever before, and people still can't get ahead of things, especially when it comes to just the things that you want. Like you want a nice house, and you want like to do better for yourself and be able to enjoy your life, because that's really what's all about. But it's really like nowadays, I mean, then again, it's always kind of been like this to begin with, but company loyalty is just slavery rebranded. And it's really just I see others, if not everybody, swapping their soul for something that doesn't even like really give them reciprocation for, and it's just crazy to think about because you go on LinkedIn, Indeed, or whatever job posting that you might apply for, the application, and it's like for let's say I'm a graphic designer, right? And I want to get a graphic design job. However, I don't have a degree, but I have the portfolio to pretty much back it up. And it's crazy to think because like they expect like a bachelor's degree, master's degree, and on top of you spending all this money for a degree, and that's probably not even gonna like really it's not as secure as it used to be. They still expect you to know how to like use different apps, or just a lot of other things that might be a little bit related to graphic design, but that's just like one thing in itself that like because graphic design is pretty much just it's really broad degree to have, but it's like they would expect it to be good at like let's say editing, or just other things that really like aren't really what you get when you get a graphic design degree. And it just like, and then they pay on top of that like not even the best, and this is like every job in general. Like they expect you to kind of abide by whatever it is that they want you to do, and these jobs and stuff, they really just don't give a fuck about you. And it's like people my age and people that, and honestly, people are starting to wake up now, and I'm really glad that people have more self-respect than before, because talking to my dad about how it's kind of just different now with like how the world is and stuff like that. You really have to do things outside of whatever job you're at, or else you're gonna be, I feel like, left behind. And and I'm really concerned about that because even though I'm very excited for the future, and then especially Gen Z, and whatever the generation before me, Generation Alpha, I don't know, something like that. I don't know the generations by heart, but anyone that's like, just in general, people are starting to wake up, and people are starting to realize that the game that we've been playing just doesn't exist anymore. And if you just rely on one stream of income, then you're kind of fucked. Unless you have a really great job and you like it, that's great. I'm sure there's jobs out there that treat their employees good, and it gives them a more an incentive to stay at a company. Who wouldn't want to, like, be at a company that, especially for something they love to do for many years to come. But then it's like you see on like Twitter, Instagram, not Facebook, but everything that any social media pretty much. It's just like you see all these things that, like layoffs, and AI taking over, and just like all these like horrible things. Prices going up, minimum wage has not gone up at all, and even if it was going up, it's like what, like 50 cents a year maybe, if that. And really, it's not really a raise, because that's pretty much just taking out more taxes. And it's like, we're so, like, it just doesn't make any sense to really climb the ladder nowadays. And I hate it because there's some people that might not want to make a business, or do something that is like, that they have to kind of like build. Some people would rather work a job and not having to worry about all that stuff, and just work and go home, and that's it. But it just, that formula just does not work anymore, and it's unfortunate to say, because all of these people, all these honest, hard workers that are the backbone of America, or just like the world in general, like everyone that just makes shit happen for the rest of us to live. It's like they get disrespected the most. They don't really care about whatever it may be. And I'm not saying that, oh, like, we have to be this or that, like, spoon fed or whatever it may be. And just like what the boomers say, how like Gen Z is lazy and stuff like that. But you know what, this is really, this might not even be a stretch, honestly, but the boomers love to say how lazy Gen Z is, and the people that are younger than me. But if you really think about it, I feel like in a way they're the laziest, because I feel like my generation, or just in general, like people that are kind of around the 25 age range, we're working more than ever than boomers ever had to. A boomer could work 40 hours a week, and he could have the life that, someone making 100K today, in today's day and age, like, and they're living way better, than most people. And it's crazy to think, because they don't give a fuck about whatever is gonna happen to us after they move on. It's like, well, they got the house, they got the cars paid off, they already got life settled in. But if you put a boomer into today's day and age, they wouldn't last, if I'm being honest with you. you know like most people that doesn't really have a place that they live in by themselves. And if they do, then it's like they're pretty much forced to live with somebody else. And it's just a really horrible cycle to be in, because like that incentive is just out the window now. And I don't mind working, and I'm sure whoever is watching this video doesn't mind working at all. Because at the end of the day, like, money, like, is always going to be um pretty much the forefront of what we do in everyday life. And with everything going on right now, it just adds so much more stress, and just uncertainty with what's going on, especially with, like, AI taking some jobs, and just minimum wage not going up. But you got companies that are making record breaking earnings a year, like what I don't understand how we got here. And maybe this is just late stage capitalism. And at the end of the day, like there has to be like the top, class, middle class, poor class, whatever it may be. But I just don't understand like what they want out of people that are trying to make an honest living. And it's like we're the ones that get affected by it the most, by paying taxes. You got all these like CEOs just dodging paying taxes, like just doing loopholes that kind of avoids the stuff that we have to do every day. And it's just crazy to think about. But I think if there's one thing that to kind of take from this video, without because I know that I'm kind of just rambling, and I guess you can say I'm complaining or being cynical and all. But one thing about me is I don't mind telling the truth even when I guess it hurts. But if there's one thing to take away from this video, is to really just make your own business, or learn like a trade that you're good at. And really just ask yourself, what would you do if money wasn't a thing? And I think that's the most important question to ask yourself when it comes to whatever it is that you want to do with your life. And if you just abide by that and you don't doubt it, then most of I'm not going to say everything, but there's no way that you can work on something for years and years and years without getting any reciprocation and stuff. And let's say even if you don't get reciprocation, at least like you can say, oh, like, you got heart, or you just, because most people don't really have heart these days. They want everything kind of like spoon fed to them. They think that they can just kind of do whatever and then kind of just get the most results out of it, like as fast as they can. And yeah, I just feel like you just can't, at the end of the day, you can't really, like, I guess, be negative. And I know like you could say I'm being negative right now, but this is kind of really what it is. I just kind of worry about the people that just want to make an honest living. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Anyways, peace out.